taking our time, being in the festivities. Good morning, Dr. How are you doing?
Well, very well, thank you, Mark.
I can barely hear you.
Mark, can you hear me?
Yes, now I can hear you. Can hear well, loud and clear.
Yeah, how are
I
you?
hardly sometimes ask doctors how you doing. I'm doing all right. And how are you doing as well?
Well, I'm very well, thank you.
Excellent. Hope you had a good week.
Well, stressful, and as usual, you know how it is.
Have you had any interesting conditions you have to treat this week?
It's always interesting in my field, Mark. It's always interesting. People are
Yeah,
always they come in acutely ill, heart attacks, and you have to save them. So every day of my working life is very interesting.
yeah. Anything you want to share that we can take some key points, into our audience.
It's just that yeah, like we were saying the week I think before last week that you know, do not take any chest pain for granted and make sure you always call for advice, NHS 111, or call paramedics if you're not sure, or just walk yourself to the nearest A&E because you could be having a heart attack. So it's always very interesting because people come in complaining of heartburn, or they also I thought it was a heartburn. I only thought it was heartburn, and then it turns out to be a massive heart attack that we have to rescue. So you know, all I'll say is don't take any chest pain for granted. Uh, if you think you have indigestion, if you have any arm pain or anything that you're not sure about, that just go to A&E. I know people think, oh, I'm gonna spend time in A&E, but it's far better than being dead.
Yeah,
So yeah, that's all I'll share.
I agree. Oh, and you
Mhm.
were recently in Ghana as well, isn't it? Did you get a chance to do any help?
And for this time around, unfortunately, no. This was a different purpose, so I didn't have time to go and do that. But in the next few months, there's a plan to go and do some outreach and help
Yeah,
out with some people. And as I said to you last time, we're trying to take cardiology um, back home just to help the our guys who are there already, the cardiologists who are in Ghana who are doing a fantastic job already. We just want to go and complement and help what they're doing. Just get some equipments there, some echoes and ECGs and things like that that we can use to help the diagnosis, make diagnosis faster and treatment faster. So that's something that we are currently working on.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's crazy, I'm sometimes I always say that a sickness has no respect of person and people.
No,
You know,
no.
and I recently, it's a colleague of ours, that we all work together. Happened to be from Ghana, um, and it's very able young lady, always well dressed, looking nice, looking beautiful, as always in the world. Um, you wouldn't think that anything can happen to such a person, yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
out of nowhere, she get she gets inflammation of her spinal cord, and she basically cannot walk anymore. You know,
wow, wow,
uh, it's crazy. It's so sometimes when we come up here, we try to engage people. We try to um uh share some of the tricks and bits about health. I think it's an important thing that diseases have sort of no respect of person. And personally speaking, I think that we should always be grateful to God or to whatever
yeah,
you believe in, that
yeah,
woke up feeling healthy and strong.
yeah,
uh
yeah,
right, is we can we can take advantage. Anyways,
yeah.
that was just by the way. Again, I want to say a big morning. Uh, to everyone who is listening to us, uh, or to those of you who are watching us on YouTube. Continue to share the link with your friends and family. Let them join in, listen, and then we engage. In the last two, and then we want to apologize. The fact that we've not been able to be in the studio or present something last week and the week before as a result of measures and situations beyond our control. I'm sure Uncle Van Dyke managed to help us play some of the previous health talks that we had, which is always very useful to refresh our memories and do something. I must say that just once you have confirmed your outreach and everything that you want to do in Ghana, we can share the information on this platform so that people can spread the word among their friends and family back at home so they might take advantage of the situation. Is that all right?
Yeah, that's fine. That's absolutely fine.
Yeah,
Whoever's interested, we will let you know when it's coming on and what we are planning to do.
yeah. We wanted 2 weeks ago we started on something called men's health, which we sort of did partially or half of it. Um, we want to try and finish it. Um, and the one thing that I think it's important that we sort of take for granted is mental health. Joseph,
Yeah,
what's your thought on mental health in regards to men and especially black men?
I think it's a very, very important, very, very, very important topic. Very, very important topic because as diasporas, right? As diasporas, we they go through a lot, or we go through a lot. With all the stresses at work, at home, and also people back in Ghana. So, people deal with a lot of the trauma that people are going through. And men are generally very stoic people. They don't like to share, what they're going through with people. So people they internalize it, and then it bubbles up, and ultimately, we find it's manifested in different ways. So I think is very key, is very crucial, and people are generally shy. They don't want to talk about mental health, the
Yeah,
stigma of it, so they don't want to talk about it.
mm,
The word depression does not exist in our dictionary.
yeah,
So yeah. So I think it's a very very important topic. If one day you can bring it up and maybe you can champion it and just discuss it as well in the open, that people know that it's okay to
yeah,
have problems, it's okay to have stresses, it's okay to seek help, and it's okay, because you're not suffering alone. You're suffering with people. A lot of other people also have the same problem that you have. So it's better to share the problem and get solution as soon as possible.
yeah,
So
yeah. So,
so yeah.
I mean, is it all right to say that when we talk about mental health, we are only talking about depression for that matter?
No, 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 no. Mental health encompasses so much and so many diagnoses. That's what I'm saying. It's important to bring it to the fore. There's a lot and lots and lots. There's there are lots of people actually having what we call PTSD. They don't even know they're having PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder.
Yeah,
People went through a lot of things in your teenage years and your young years. It's manifesting now, but they don't actually know that's actually what's causing their problems.
yeah,
As a result of what they faced throughout their childhood, and that's what's manifesting in their marriages, manifesting
mm,
in their life, their work life, relationship with colleagues. It's because of the trauma that they went through, and people need to recognize and deal with it. You know, lots of things, anxieties, and there's so much. You know that there's so much to mental health, not just depression. So, I think it's a conversation that needs to be brought to the fore and definitely taken seriously, more seriously than you know we are currently taking it. So I think it definitely needs to be discussed. You know, it's not our area of expertise, but I think
yeah,
obviously as doctors we've all done general training, so we do
yeah.
have we do have some training in mental health. But yeah, I think it's definitely something that we need to is worth thinking about.
I mean, obviously, a lot of things that contribute to mental health issues. Yeah, and the at the far end of the spectrum is when people sort of it could have such an impactful effect that it could lead into things like psychosis,
Yeah,
um,
that's right.
and then also sometimes people take their own lives, what we call suicide.
Yeah,
Now, well, in the on the surface level, we sometimes think that some of these conditions do not exist in the race or the black population, and that is one of the reasons why people who even have it don't sort of come out. Like, as you rightly so said, they are stigmatized. Um, roughly speaking, do you think that um, the prevalence or the incidence of suicide is become common, or it's increased in the population?
yeah, definitely. It definitely is. If you look at the statistics, it's something that's going up, and obviously with the recent financial increase in the cost of living and increase in mortgages and increase in food prices and a lot of things, people are really struggling. And as I said, people are not sharing. And so some people, the only way they know out is, just not to exist, which we don't think that's what should happen. So yeah, definitely a lot of and the people are resorting to drug addictions, and drug addiction, as you said,
Mm,
cause psychosis. Psychosis is when you start seeing things that are not real.
yeah,
So yeah, when people see those things, and it's quite real. It's really real. That's affecting families and affecting personalities, and it's affecting a lot of people. So I think definitely
yeah,
we should have a definitely themed. We should have a theme for
yeah.
um for mental health.
So it's definitely safe to say to establish that finances, and I mean a lot of men are supposedly the breadwinners of their homes. So money plays a significant role. Um, and if the finances are not great, that could affect one's what own mental health. Yeah.
Absolutely,
Um,
absolutely.
and the other thing is unemployment. I'll tell you a story. My own personal experience. Just
Mm,
around the time of the COVID, I think I
mm,
had finished school, finished my specialization, and I had I come from China. And
yeah,
I came to England a bit to do my registration exams,
yeah, yeah,
and then I traveled back home. Yeah.
hmm yeah,
Uh, but whilst in China, I used to do some work. Yeah. So I had some money. I had some cash. Yeah.
yeah.
But when I went back to Ghana, I didn't have a job. Yeah. So
hmm
so I wasn't making any money.
hmm
Yeah.
yeah,
The stress that I was going through
yeah.
at that, you can feel that you are bottom low in your life.
That's
As
right.
yeah.
That's right. That's right.
And when you're bottom low in your life, you don't have a very stable mind. You
Yeah,
go
no,
through
definitely.
these episodes of what bipolar, mood swings here and
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
And if you don't have a very strong family support or
That's your
set
problem.
of friends,
hmm
then it could lead into one thing to the other.
That's right.
Um, we have a lot of young boys, young men, who are obviously struggling in this sort of scenarios. Unemployment is on the horizon in
Yeah,
Ghana.
yeah.
Unemployment high in England, and even for those of us who have some work to do, yeah, there is there is there is very little amount of money that you can do anything with.
Disposable. That's absolutely. That's what I
Yeah.
was saying. The cost of living, disposable income is very low because people have mortgages, people have all these commitments. It costs a lot of money. Yeah, so is something that really, yeah, I think it's definitely that's definitely worth considering. So yeah,
Yeah, and when when we, sometimes when we talk about health, especially on the continent of Africa, we talk about what governments and leaders, and stakeholders and NGOs and charity organizations, what role they can play in helping shape the health of the population. Because say a healthy nation makes what a stronger nation.
that's
Uh,
right.
do
More
what
so, more so in Ghana, as we're saying, the percentage of the youth, which is between the age of 16 to 40 something, is quite it's quite a lot. I don't know the exact I don't want to quote the exact figure, but I know the youth are more than 60%. You know, so if we don't take these things seriously, unemployment or anything seriously, is going to have a knock-on effect later on for us with
yeah
all these mental health issues that you're talking about with crime
yeah
and drugs and all that. So
yeah
it's a real problem, a real danger.
yeah. And the other thing is that a lot of these are medications that one thing before I even go on to say that, I need to say this emphatically that also when you have mental health issues, the mental health issues doesn't necessarily you are mad. We need to establish this as a fact that
Yeah.
having mental health issues doesn't mean that mad or wabodam as we say it in Ghana.
Mm,
It could be all sort of things. It could be um attention deficit, hyperreactivity. It
hmm
could, depressions. It could be anxiety. It could be bipolar mood swings. All these things. That
mm,
go on. Obviously, there are things that triggers it. But it doesn't necessarily mean that what you are a mad person, you're insane, and
that's
that
right.
you're on the street or you should be on you should be in a psychiatric
Medication.
home. The
Yeah.
thing is that when you ignore them, when you ignore those cardinal signs, for example,
Yeah. Yeah.
depression can be so severe that it could lead now into psychosis. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
So we like to say that the same way that we talk about cancer and malignancy, that when you catch it early, sometimes the prognosis is a lot better because there's a lot you can do with it. The
hmm
same with mental health issues. If you are persistently under stress and you need the support that you need.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, in our circle, especially in Ghana, we don't have very good social service,
hmm
social support system,
hmm
coupled with the stigmatization that people go through.
hmm
And in the stigmatization itself is not even at an individual level. Sometimes it's
hmm
even at the family level, a group level, because if, for example, I have a brother or a sister or a mother or an auntie who is, excuse me, to say, a bit unwell, we tend to hide it, isn't it? We
Yeah.
don't
That's right.
we don't talk about it. We don't share it. We don't bring it forth so that the right help can be taken. So
Yeah.
these are and being unwell with mental health is not really what's the word? It's not um it's common, it's common
hmm
that you should not be shy about it because it's something that can be what managed. It's something that
Manage.
can
That's right.
be
Yeah.
managed.
That's right.
Things like hallucinations, if somebody you're hearing voices, you're hearing sounds, all of
Mm.
these things sometimes they are triggered by persistent stress, persistent depression, persistent unemployment. And do you also think that some the pressures that we get from
hmm
extended family members, nuclear family members, or as a man, sometimes also affects us?
hmm It does. It does. It does. As I was we said, there's so much that we go through as men that ultimately affects our mental health. So um, I don't know how we're going to encourage the population to come forward with these things, but I think it's something that's really is worth thinking about.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, the key point is that as men, my word to men will be that we shouldn't shy away from getting help, especially in building our mental health. And small groups and support are very important.
Mm-hmm.
I like the fact that the gym system and the
Mm-hmm.
gym culture has peaked a lot now in our circles. And I think
Mm-hmm.
these social gatherings and social interactions help to strengthen resilience and
That's right.
also build people's mentality.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a sports person, by all means, get in the groups that play, your favorite sports that you like.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've been talking and talking. I want to thank our friends and our aunties and mothers who are at home with us. You're listening to Dr. Joseph and myself, Dr. Mark. We like to come in your house on Saturday morning to speak and to engage with you. We're talking about men's health. Hopefully, we'll be able to cover the little bits and things that we want to talk about this month so that from next week we can move on to something different. Again, we are not able to allow for you to call in to engage with us, to interact with us, but we are working on it. I'm sure we'll find a way around this situation. In the meantime, allow us to always engage with you, interact with you, share some of our thoughts, what we think. Um, we've looked at prostate, we've looked at high blood pressure. I'm not sure if we touched on diabetes. Probably not, Joseph.
Brilliant. No, no, we
Do
didn't. We didn't do
you,
diabetes.
do you, do you want to brush us through diabetes and what your thoughts?
Uh, yeah. So, I mean, diabetes. I mean, where do you start? Is a whole PhD thesis on itself, on its own. So, I mean, I think that the important things to know here in terms of diabetes is, number one, what is diabetes? Who is at risk of diabetes? Um, what you can do to try and prevent diabetes, or if you've just been diagnosed with diabetes, what you can do to reverse diabetes within the first sort of few months. And if you've been diagnosed many years and you're living with diabetes, what you can do to control diabetes, just so you don't get complications from it. And what are these complications, and what can you do about the complications? See, these are sort of the broad things that we need to talk about in terms of diabetes. So what diabetes basically having excess sugar in your body, right?
Yeah,
In tree, you got kind of let's say it's a area,
yeah,
you know, which means you've got lots of excess sugar in your body that your body cannot process, and therefore your body gets rid of the sugar through the
yeah.
urine and through other means, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, so um the way sorry, first of all I said, yeah, so who gets diabetes? Diabetes will be able to get diabetes. Anyone can get diabetes, right?
Yeah,
But there are people that are predominantly at risk. What is it at risk? That or more, you know, you are more likely to get it than the another person,
yeah,
if we say Asians, so we are Asia for them, we are very much at risk of diabetes more
yeah,
than us. Then it comes to us, which
yeah,
is that's when I say us, I mean, people from the diaspora, African, Caribbean, and then I'm from so on. So what are the things that lead to one having diabetes? As we say, risk factors about your diabetes. Yeah,
yeah.
the biggest and the most important one, I'll say something called central obesity.
Hmm.
Central obesity is a fukasia. Let's
Yeah,
put it that way. A fukasia.
yeah,
So also not particularly wɔkɛseɛ no nyinaa gyina wɔfu mu a, that's where the issue is, because
yeah,
wɔfu no aso sen ɔfu no aso sen waste,
yeah,
right? Significantly, you are very, very much more likely to get diabetes in the next few years. So we need
yeah,
to take action on that one. So that's the first. And the second thing is obi ɛwɔ family mu nya diabetes a ɔmo ami and papa and also obi ɛwɔ diabetes ɛwɔ family mu and also you know that you are at risk of developing diabetes. Um, again, yɛaduane die mu sɛ wodi obi a wotaa di aduane a ɛyɛ white, rice, which is a more bayerɛ. banche, yɛde fufuo no, aduane bi a white, different carbohydrate, different carbohydrates. If you eat anything that's very heavy in carbohydrates and you don't burn it off, by burning that means all exercise, say now get rid of excess carbohydrates now,
Yeah.
you get that means. The reason why you get that is carbohydrates now, it ultimately turns into sugar. A core body anymore, body will process process. The final end product of it, is sugar, and the sugar no is the body store or liver. The
Yeah.
broswa maybe I turn it into fat cells, turn into fat cells, and then about food now, we can see and good way. So that's how you develop these things, right? So
Yeah.
you can cut if you can cut down on, the whites and then the whites and the carbohydrates, just balance your diet. Mark, you know how we eat. How to food, what kind of food can see, and all the other way,
Yeah.
and then quite a craving and non craving. No, you're not balancing it. You know,
No.
you know what? I'm not saying don't eat your fufu and not eat animal. But just make sure it's a very small portion, very small portion. Maybe I'm quite a dorsal, then I'm a dorsal, that sort of thing. What balancing?
Yeah.
So yeah, so people that eat excess carbohydrates,
Yeah.
right? Number two, people are or more family history be careful or more for and that's why I
Yeah.
can see obesity. And also we know a drug friend prednisone steroid, right? For some reason, or more monomer for a friend steroid, no, and that can also put you up getting diabetes and some other rare medication you can also put you at risk of developing diabetes. Diabetes na ebi ɔnom a yɛde wo ɛna ebi ɔnom a yɛakwa deɛ yɛde wo no ɛyɛ ketewa bi ɛno no ɔmonya diabetes no from nkorabere mu, right? ɛno yɛ ɛno ɛnɔɔso ɛna yɛ deɛ wo develop later on as a result of nneɛma a makeka nyinaa no, which is that ɛno is called type 2 diabetes. Type 1 diabetes ne yɛ yɛde wo no. Type 2 ne yɛ deɛ we develop later on no. Na wei nyinaa deɛ nipa ne sɛ there's a hormone called insulin. I'm not going to go into that. That would be more technical. And na sometimes no wonni enough of insulin na ɛbɛ process sugar no body mu a na ma sugar no adɔɔso na afei wo body no astarte ɛrepaase sugar no ɛwɔ odwu nso mu nti sɛ wobɛstarte anya diabetes a deɛ wobɛhu nie wo sɛ asɛ wodwu nso more na sɛ wopɛ sɛ wodwu nso bi tam biara wodwu nso na wonnom nsuo nso more nsuo de wo more na wodwu nso more
Yeah.
na yeah sometimes wɔn so brew kakra sugar no sɛ ɛtumi kɔ fam ɛtumi kɔ soro ɛtumi kɔ fam ha na afɔ wɔn so brew kakra asɔ so otwa hwɛ asɔ ohun yɛ sugar asɔ ɔkɔdi sugar quickly na these are the main signs no wɔn sɛ wɔastart develop diabetes obi wɔn so a the first time wɔn so wɔn diabetes no wɔn heart attack because diabetes is the biggest is one of the biggest risk factors to develop heart attack, right? Or arteries, no.
Mm.
Because what diabetes does is it causes flare up of your arteries. So
Yeah.
it accelerates what we call atherosclerosis. So what arteries, it starts building up with cholesterol deposits and all those, junk stuff. But what diabetes are a mass animal cost 10. It is a
Mm.
cabinets animal at the age of 85 because what diabetes needs to be done in term by 40, 45.
Mm.
So some people only find out more diabetes when they have heart attack or when they have
Yeah.
something else.
Mm.
Yeah. So but the signs, like actually, the main signs are like what's it like it's
Yeah.
Wono musuo na wodwo nso ɛna wodidi yia no wodi aduane a ɛyɛ carbohydrate bia no aduane a ɛyɛ white a sugar wɔ bia no wodidi wie yia no within a short space of time na ɛsɛ ɔkɔdwo nso
Yeah. Yeah.
ɛkyerɛ sɛ wo
Yeah.
body within a short space of time na ɛsɛ ɔkɔdwo nso ɛnti no hwɛ no saa obi ɔnom a
Why does that actually happen? Why does wait, can you explain it a bit to people
okay
if that's
okay so what happens is sɛ wodi saa carbohydrate na right body sugar now, what your body not normally does is your body breaks it down quickly because those things they digest quickly. So body breaks it down quickly and your body cells absorb the sugar. Okay, they absorb
Mm.
the sugar.
Yeah.
If you have the insulin now, insulin in your body to be a helper. They help absorb the sugar into the blood cell, into the body cells. Okay. But what happens in people who will be developing diabetes or they've done diabetes, what happens is
Mm.
When the body breaks these things down into sugar or the sugar in the blood and that,
Yeah.
because the hormone which is called insulin that helps the body
Yeah.
to absorb the sugar, no,
Yeah.
because there's lack of it or is inadequate. There's a lot of them there, but they don't work properly. No, there's a
Yeah.
lot of sugar still in the blood,
Mm.
and then whenever there's sugar in the blood, they always end up in the kidneys.
Yeah.
Right? When they end up in the kidneys, no,
It's fair.
your kidney become very concentrated, which is your
Mm.
kidney has a lot of sugar. Your kidney with sugar,
Mm.
then what now naturally happens is it pulls sugar pulls water wherever it is.
Mm.
It's if there's a lot of sugar in your kidneys that it pulls water into your kidneys. And
Yeah.
when water comes into your kidneys that it filters out into urine.
Mm.
So that's a simple explanation of it. A lot of sugar
Yeah.
gets pulled into your kidney because they are not absorbed because of
Yeah.
lack of insulin, or because of the inactivity or ineffectiveness of insulin. You know? And because of that, there's pulled sugar in your kidneys, and the kidneys pull water, and your kidneys filter the water into urine, and they go into your bladder, and then you want
Mm.
to urinate very quickly. So that's the simple explanation, Mark, if you ask me. But yeah,
Oh.
just coming to the symptoms. No, sometimes people have weight loss. Like we should be unnecessarily,
Mm.
you know. But I know you're type 1 for no more because they will.
I would stop you there, and let's say there's a family friend I knew. Nesotes, I'm talking hospital. I'm saying I'm diagnosing in diabetes. You know,
Yeah,
na
yeah.
ne pastor can change say if you for ne you know.
So that, I don't want to go into those sort of things, but if you start to go into that kind of thing anyway, so I like to skip that one because
Okay,
so many issues
okay,
there.
yeah,
Yeah. So sometimes you feel like you're low in energy. That's what bread. They be your
yeah,
bread. You're fatigued, low in energy.
mm,
Sometimes, and what diabetes when you're infection or skin in healing them. It's
yeah,
most of the cow. If something big cow, I say healing within 2 days, then healing after 1 week, now it's still there.
yeah,
It's because there's lots of sugar in your body, and diabetes lowers the immune system, it weakens the
yeah,
immune system.
yeah.
Uh-huh. So yeah, that's also something like and sometimes it was a dark idea about friends. A friend of something called acanthosis nigricans. I don't know if you understand. Um, what's it like some dark discoloration be or skin no ne or neck
Yeah.
in this animal. Yeah,
Mm,
but in yeah skin quite don't show who
mm.
you know. Yeah. So when you're diabetes no so and I don't mean that once when I
Mm.
say friends tingling. I don't know how you say tingling. It's
Yeah, take
numbness
it.
and tingling.
Mm. Yeah. Mm.
Numbness. So
Yeah,
as when
friend,
I say it's
diabetic neuropathy. Is that the one?
that's right. Now, use it.
Yes.
You have numbness and tingling sensation and pain
Mm.
in your feet. What's
Yeah.
that's the be no feet are cold because there's no circulation.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, bear man's who's there now or I didn't to be sorry.
Mm.
These are all yeah. So these are all significant. These are all the symptoms of
Is
um.
there any discrepancy between men and women when it comes to diabetes? Is it more prevalent in one or doesn't really matter?
Uh, I think in African cultures more prevalent in women.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, because I think it's because of the statistics now in terms of weight distribution.
Yeah.
Um, Man will tend to have sort of a more weight than the man.
Yeah.
For some reason, I don't know. Maybe you can educate me on it. I don't know, but for some reason that's what happens.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
it comes down to the fact that men have more muscles, and the muscles tend to have less fat, whilst
mm,
women have more subcutaneous, tissue. So
mm,
the fat component is probably a lot more, in the female population than the
mm,
men. And the other aspect is that the physicality of men means that they sort of they're able to burn a lot of their calories
mm,
compared to females where it accumulates and the calories accumulate in those regions of the body. So as you mentioned, the tummy region, the gluteal regions, and then
yeah.
the chest, the breast for that matter for women. So those and these sort of diseases, tend to what like to develop where there is more of these sort of
Hmm.
tissue.
Hmm.
So I would think that we might find diabetes more common, especially in the African women than in the African Man, what I found quite strange was that, I'll mention my mom, for example, when she visited me. My mom is not that big. She's petite. She's smallish. Yeah.
Mhm.
But she used to complain about a lot of this pain sensation here, there, here, there. So, I mean, long story short, we pin it down to what menopausal symptoms and
Mhm.
things like that. But when she had a blood test and everything, check her glucose and everything, she was diagnosed with diabetes,
Yeah,
and
that's right.
they have put her on some form of metformin.
That's right.
And these days, every time she goes off her medication, she tends to run into some trouble.
Yeah,
So
that's right.
much as we're talking about size and all of that, sometimes you don't necessarily have to be fat in
That's right.
quote. So
That's right.
or big or obese, to be diagnosed with diabetes. It
That's
could
right.
easily be diagnosed in people who are actually of normal sizes. Obviously, we have the two types of diabetes, which you talked about, the type 1 and type 2. Type 2, I think, is the most common one. Most people have
That's right.
that one, which is sort of associated with lifestyle modifications and things like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Whilst the type 1 is mostly the fact that you don't have the insulin at all, isn't it? So your pancreas is not producing anything. Whilst in the type 2, you're producing something, but sort of it's not doing the work that
It's
it
not
needs.
working. That's right. That's right.
So yes, and then the knockdown effect, as just Dr. Joseph has mentioned, is plenty. When you have cats, things cannot heal. If you're diabetic, it means it allows your immunity will be low. You can't fight infections properly. And if you go on to sort of needing some form of even any surgical procedure, sometimes it puts you in a higher risk of complications, category. So overall, diabetes is something that we want to encourage people to take seriously. Um,
Yeah. So exactly. It's something that you need to be very careful. I mean, I think I'm looking at the time, and I think we just need to wanted to run through something very quickly and very, very important with regards to diabetes in terms of. So we've talked about the symptoms, we've talked about who gets diabetes, we've talked about risk factors. Now, the most important thing is to know about diabetes is what it puts you at risk of, right? Just so people understand if they do have diabetes, they need to look at things. If they don't have diabetes, try and prevent it, you know. So number one, the most important thing, as I said to you, is diabetes puts you at a high risk of developing um, artery diseases, any artery in your body at all. The artery, when I say artery means your blood vessels, right? It causes flare up
mm,
of the blood vessels anywhere in your
mm,
body, whether it is your brain or whether it's your heart or whether it's your limbs or wherever. So in your brain, if you the arteries flare up, it causes stroke, as Mark will tell you, it causes a lot of stroke. So people who have diabetes are again higher risk of developing stroke. If it's in your heart, it causes heart attack because the arteries in your heart get blocked up, and we have to treat you. If it is in your kidneys, it causes flare up in your kidneys, and it causes chronic kidney disease. So it causes people to have kidney problems. In your legs, it causes flare up in the artery in your legs, and that's where you get a numbness and you get those tingling sensation. Or anything in your eyes, it causes flare up in the very small vessels in your eyes. That causes some visual problems. We call it diabetic retinopathy.
mm.
So basically, anywhere there's a small blood vessel or blood vessel in the body, diabetes can cause problems. So these are the problems to look out for.
So
Um,
basically, it can affect every part of your body because
it,
blood
but
has.
that's why it does. That's why it's very important. That's why it's
Yeah,
very, very important.
yeah.
Diabetes is very, very important because it affect every part of your body essentially. So
Joseph, the way you've mentioned it, I've actually not thought about it like that, but
mm, mm,
and because sometimes I ask myself, there are when do MRI scans of people's brain, sometimes is
mm,
we report things like small vessel diseases,
that's
and I
right.
ask
That's
myself,
right.
this small vessel disease, where are they coming from?
That's right.
I
Yeah.
think it
Yeah.
all comes down to diabetes and
A
all
lot of it
these
usually, yes.
i-
Yeah, yeah.
issues,
Most of them. Mostly comes that. Yeah, mostly is that.
Yeah, thanks a
Yeah.
lot. That's very helpful. It's an
Yes,
insight.
mostly that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's why, and that's why we always say people with diabetes have high risk of stroke. because of they flare up those very small vessels.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why people are, you're at risk of stroke. So, and the same thing with heart vessels, because brain vessels are similar to the size to the heart vessels. They are very, very small, 2 millimeters, 3 millimeters in size. If you have a 3.5 millimeters artery, then we are saying it's big, but
Yeah.
in reality, it's very, very small.
No.
So so in the brain it causes stroke, in the heart it causes heart attack. And I see that every day in my practice because I'm doing this every single day. People that come in, with heart attack, people that got clogged arteries up, a lot of them, about 60-70% of them have diabetes. So it is very, very, very crucial, very, very crucial to make sure you do these things. Now, the most important thing is, well, that's why we are here. We're not here to fight anyone. Why we
Yeah.
are here is to try and raise awareness that
Yeah.
this is what happens, and the most important thing is what can you do about it. I think
Yeah.
that's the most important part about this program, and that's why
Yeah.
we're working with me and Mark. I spend an hour to come and sit here, and we have a lot of things, but we think it's very important. So the most important thing, all right, what to
Yeah.
do. The most important thing to do is number one, as I said, if the people who do not have diabetes, you make sure you do whatever you can do to prevent it, which is what we've said. Eat healthily, eat a balanced diet, avoid eating a lot of starchy food.
Yeah.
If you can't stop eating the starchy food, then try and cut down as much as you can. Cut down as much as you can. You
Yeah.
eat a little bit of fufu, a lot of meat, soup, you eat a little of rice. Try and vary your diet. Eat
Yeah.
spinach. Spinach is very good, it's very, very good vegetable. So vary your diet. Eat a lot of protein and vegetables. Eat a
Yeah.
lot of protein and vegetables. That should be the mainstay of your diet.
Yeah.
Vegetables and protein. That's the first important thing I'll say. Secondly, you need to do a lot of people need to do checkups, right?
Mm.
If you're
Mm.
here, you've never had a checkup, you've never checked your blood sugar level, and let me say this, Mark,
Yeah.
people should not be. When people are, I think they're doing their sports random blood. They say, oh, my sugar is 5.6, I'm okay. My sugar is 5.5, I'm okay. No, that's not how to check for
That's
diabetes.
all right. Check it.
Okay? No, 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 no. It's long gone. That thing is stopped. There's something called HbA1c, right?
Mm.
HbA1c it's a hemoglobin glucose. Basically, is how your blood sugar has been controlled for the past 3 months. That's a
Yeah.
more accurate way of checking your blood sugar than do a spot check. So if you've never had that done, please go to your GP and ask them. Tell them you think you're at risk of developing diabetes. You need to check something called HbA1c. So
Mm.
if you're listening to me, take a pen and write it. HbA1c. Go and check it then. That is the most accurate blood test you can do to check for diabetes. If it's more than 46, you've got diabetes. If it's between 42 and 46, then you're
Yeah.
pre-diabetic. If it's less than 42, then you don't have diabetes. So
Yeah.
people need to take a note. Very important. And
Yeah.
so yeah, so these are the people who don't have diabetes, right? And this is, so lastly, the people who have diabetes. If you have diabetes, then what can you do? What you can do is number one, again, to make sure you check what's called the HbA1c. The HbA1c will tell you how adequately you are controlling your diabetes. Okay.
Yeah.
If your HbA1c is like, some people are in the 70s and 80s, which means it's really, really, really high and really bad. They tell you
Yeah.
before, if your HbA1c is in the 70s and 80s, I can
Yeah.
tell you for a fact you're going to have a heart attack very soon.
Oh
If
dear.
it's in the 60s, I can tell you for a fact. If you don't get a stroke, you're going to get a heart attack very, very soon. So you need to check that. If that's very high, you need to see your GP. You need to optimize whatever medication you're on.
Yeah.
Most of the time, we start metformin, but there's a lot of other medication we give. But the important thing about people that live in this country, the
Yeah.
UK, is that
Yeah.
these medications are free. They are very expensive.
Yeah.
There's a new diabetic drug called dapagliflozin, which also helps
Yeah.
with the heart
That
function.
flexing. Yeah. I've
It's,
heard
it's
that one.
very it's very expensive, but it's
Yeah.
very good. So if you're in this country, take advantage of it. Go and get it. Very, very, very good. Yeah.
I'm going. I know you love these topics, and sometimes when you're talking about it, you're very passionate. You don't want to stop, but sometimes I have to stop you and interrupt you. You see, in
Yeah.
my line of work, Joseph, yeah, when
Yeah.
somebody has something like a brain tumor, obviously we have
Yeah.
different types of brain tumor. It could
Yeah.
be primary, it could be secondary, yeah. And
Yeah.
we say that if you don't do anything about your brain tumor,
Hmm.
sometimes we can give you certain numbers. We can say, oh, within 2 years, probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have any such numbers when it comes to diabetes? For example, if someone is diagnosed today with diabetes and they did not,
Mm.
what is their life expectancy? And if they did something about it, what is their, what, do you have any numbers at all?
Would be, I mean, to quote exact numbers, I'll have to go and do a bit more research for you. I
Yeah,
don't want to, come here and say just plug numbers as, people from my country are just want to do it. They just say they say 80% of people are 60% without any research.
yeah,
I just want, yeah, I'll need to just go, deep down,
yeah,
get the crunch numbers. I can get that
yeah,
for you if you want later on. But what I can say is,
yeah,
um, a greater, if I'm using in percentage terms or in the likelihood terms,
yeah,
if you get diagnosed with diabetes, or if you're diabetic and you don't know, right?
yeah,
You don't know in your 40s, and you don't get it treated, I can
yeah,
predict that, a good proportion of them, right? A good proportion of them, I'll hazard a guess that it's more than 60% of them will
yeah.
probably have heart attack before the age of 60.
And heart attack is deadly.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yes, yeah,
About 60. Where
yeah,
I'll hazard a guess and say I'm not saying that's the right figure, but I hazard a guess that around that figure, people will probably have heart attack or stroke,
yeah,
any cardiovascular, accidents, whether it's heart attack or whether it's stroke, or whether it's we call limb ischemia, acute limb ischemia, which is blocked artery in your legs. You know, you have that with it before the age of 60. But if it's under control and your HbA1c is under control and you control all that properly, then your risk of developing diabetes is very, very small. I mean, in fact, it's just a little bit higher than anyone without diabetes, right? So for me, the control here is the most important thing. Once you got diabetes, you get diagnosed, the medication that you can take for, there's metformin, there's sitagliptin, there's naproxen, there's dapagliflozin, there's lots of things, and then ultimately there's insulin that you can take later on. So the control is the most important thing, right? Engage with diabetic specialist nurses, engage with diabetic team, and they'll help you, guide you through, talk you through their dieting, they talk you through exercise, and oh, Mark, there's one thing I didn't say. Exercise is very important.
yeah,
Exercise is
yeah,
probably one of the most important things that we can do for yourself. If you're eating these carbohydrates, exercise them out. Go on a run, go on a walk. 30, 40 minutes every day for 4 times a week, right?
yeah,
That will bring down your sugar significantly. If you do that, if you combine exercise and you combine cutting down carbohydrates and eat greens and eat
yeah.
fish and eat meat and eat proteins, these will bring your blood sugar down significantly. Right? In fact, you can reverse diabetes by doing that if you just get diagnosed early
Amazing.
on. So yeah, so you please these are the sort of things that you need to do.
And I mean,
Um,
before we wrap up, I know that time is probably running out, but there is a concept that when it comes to sexual prowess and sexual abilities, black
mhm.
men we rank quite high up there, but that notwithstanding,
Mark, what research did you do
I
to
mean,
to
sometimes you have to believe in the masses. We like to think that we are up there. When it comes to sexual activities and all of that. And because we are talking
Mhm.
about men's issues, it's
Yeah,
always
yeah,
important in these things, you know. And
yeah.
we clearly know that different things can cause sexual dysfunction. Sometimes, if
That's
the
right.
activities is not going
That's
well,
right.
it's
That's right.
concern can lead into depression, lead to
That's right.
stress. Sometimes
That's right.
people can go on no more. Your
Yeah,
girlfriend, your wife could, separation, divorce, whatnot, and
yeah.
all of this can affect one. The thing I want us to talk about is that it's important to let people know that sometimes some of these issues are temporary and things can be done about them to
Hmm.
correct. Obviously there's the medication that you can take.
Yeah,
Sometimes
that's right.
stress itself can affect your libido. It can
That's
affect
right.
performance status.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that, Mark, I think that's a very that's a very, very important point.
And it can affect your sexual and libido activities. So
Mm,
taking absolute control of your life, by and large, I mean, sexual activity comes down to what? To ejaculation comes down to having blood flow in your penis, and as
that's right.
I wanted to chip that in because as Joseph was talking about diabetes and how it affects, blood vessels and everything. So if you are diabetic, it means, am I safe to say that it can affect your sexual performance as well?
Absolutely. That's exactly. I was gonna come to that. I mean, that's what I'm saying. I mean, I'm glad you brought that up because, yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because it's one of the biggest concerns for people, right?
Mm. Yeah.
Because the reason why it affects is, let me say that the reason why it affects Mark is again, remember I said it affects the blood vessels wherever it is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what the blood vessel wherever it is because it affects the small blood vessels in your sexual organ, which is your penis,
Mm.
and that is what causes the what do you call it, the erection.
Yeah.
Is a pool of blood, is a pool of blood in it that causes erection. So if the pool of blood is low, it be no erection. If the pool of blood is high, there's erection. So if the blood vessels are affected, it restricts blood flow, it restricts blood flow there, and
Yeah.
therefore, yeah, it restricts blood flow there, and therefore, there's no, the flow of blood is low, and you get problems with erection because the diabetes affect the blood vessels. But there is medication there to help you, lots of other things, sedative, so many things. But just engage your GP, engage your doctor about it, and I'm sure you'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and it's, yeah, we run out of time, so we touch and go, we touch and go here. But the key point is that if you're sexually, proud, your sexual ability is going downhill. The key point we're trying to establish is that there could be a medical aspect to it that
Mm,
you need to look into it. You have your urologists, you have your GPs. If you talk to them, they will do a workup on you. They will do some investigation, and sometimes you find that you might be able to find a solution to some of these issues, because I believe
mm,
that, like I said before, everything that I believe that the black man is up there somewhere when it comes to sexual activities. And so if things are not going well, it could be sometimes in the mind, it could be mental issues, it could be stress, it could be a lot going on, it could be some medical issues that can be looked at, you know, um, that can be helped. By all means, don't be shy. If you are shy to speak to your friends, you can always speak to your doctors, because by the doctors are we are bound, we can't share anything to the next person. So because of what you call confidentiality, whatever you tell us, we need to take these things into our grave. All right. We've come down to just about 9 o'clock. I want to thank everybody who took the time to be with us, took the time to listen to us. We hope that we've been able to share some thoughts with you. We hope that you would enjoy mostly even your Christmas. It's your two doctors, such day morning on Hot Digital, trying to engage and trying to uh, uh, empower our Ghanaian community here in Ghana and in Africa, in any part of the world. We want you all to live healthy. We want you all to be strong. Joseph, before you sign off, you want to say anything at all?
No, I think we've summarized everything quite well. So yeah, yeah, we'll come your way maybe. I don't know when, Mark, but Mark will of course organize it. Just take care of yourself, take care of your health, and yeah, live longer for your family and for yourself.
Excellent. Thank you. Have a very good Saturday. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Welcome to Rehoboth Havens, making home ownership easy for Ghanaians living in a diaspora with a 2-bedroom home starting at just $55,000. Rehoboth has partnered with Ghanaian banks to make home ownership affordable and flexible for Ghanaians abroad. With a $5,000 deposit, a monthly net income of $1,500, and a good credit report, you can qualify for a mortgage on a 2-bedroom home. Located in the serene hills of Ayimensa Damfa with breathtaking views of the Peduasi Ebri Mountains, Rehoboth Havens is a secure gated community. Enjoy beautifully landscaped surroundings and the peace of mind every family deserves in a gated community. Also on offer is our newly built